Hello, everyone. Welcome to Boss Radio Live again. Welcome to Boss Radio Live. We have a great show coming up, an amazing guest. We have Angela D. Wharton on the show today. I cannot wait to talk to her. It's going to be a great show, you guys. So, before we get started, you all know what I have to do. I have to hit that intro. It's Boss Radio Live with NJ,
your three-dimensional podcast. Baltimore, Maryland. I love my city.
Wow.
You have to have balance.
Mother's Day extravaganza event being held by LUC Lois Button Culver.
Come meet me today at the Spirit Center. I want to hear what you have to say.
Again, welcome to Boss Radio Live, everyone. As I said, first of all, I'm NJ, and this is where he is the boss of me. So I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm excited for our guest today, Miss Angela D. Wharton. And so we are going to kick it right off. For those of you who do not know who Angela Wharton is, here's a little bit about Angela.
Angela D. Wharton is a speaker, author, and women's advocate. Angela endured 2 terrifying sexual assaults as both a teenager and as an adult. Despite these horrific acts, Angela made the choice to rise above her own pain and founded Phynyx Ministries to help others give voice to their pain. Since 2011, Angela's ministry has provided support services and important tools to survivors of sexual assault through her support group, using prayer and her Survivor Empowerment Program. Angela has even used her voice to testify in support of legislation to make a sex offender's past history admissible in court. Angela allowed her pain to propel her into her purpose, helping others to heal and giving them the strength and courage to break their silence.
Yes, everyone. So, welcome to the show, the wonderful, the fabulous, the great Miss Angela D. Wharton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my gosh. I was like, wait a minute, she talking about me?
That's right, honey. That's right. We are talking about you. Fabulous you. That's right.
Oh, thank you, sis. God bless you. I'm so excited to be on the show. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here sharing your amazing platform with you on tonight.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm honored to have you and the topic and things that we're going to be talking about today. Definitely have to put a warning out there. This may be a trigger for
Absolutely.
some folks. We will be talking about sexual abuse, but this is an important topic. And the mission and the things that you're doing are awesome. Like, I'm in awe of you. I'm in awe of your strength to do what you're doing, honestly.
Yeah, to God be the glory and the honor, because it is because of God that I am able to even be here on your show, sharing my story, because God saved my life You know, we're going to get more into the stories of what happened. But I do know that God was there. And if it had not been for the Lord on my side,
Look.
where would I be? Not right here, right now. I'll tell you that. So,
Definitely.
I mean, I owe it all to God.
Well, amen to that. And that is nothing but truth. Nothing but truth. So, as I said, this is it's a heavy topic.
Yeah.
And I want to really jump right in because I want the folks to hear your story from you. So I really want to start there at the beginning because this is something you have personal experience with, and you definitely are an overcomer. So talk to us about your experience and what actually happened to you.
Yeah. So when I was 14 years old, my mom was dating a man. I'm not gonna say a young man because he was older than me. I was 14, and this particular night, my good girlfriend, we're still best friends, had just got finished dyeing my hair with Kool-Aid. So I know I'm aging myself.
Yeah.
But there's somebody watching that used to dye their hair with Kool-Aid back in the day, right? And so she just got finished dyeing my hair, and the telephone rang, and it was this person that my mom was dating. And, you know, he said he wanted to come and have a conversation with me about how I can make up to $500 a night. And I was just like, my mom's not here. I don't think it's a good idea. And he was just like, well, I'm going to come down. I'm coming. So anyway, he ended up at the house. But before he got there, I asked my girlfriend to stay with me because I just didn't feel right. Like something just didn't feel right. But she wasn't able to stay. And so she left. And then he came and he wanted to kind of hang out in the living room. And you know, back in the day, the living room was like the prized possession. You don't sit in the living room because mama had the good living room set there, the nice lamps and everything. But you know, he wanted to sit in the living room, which I thought was strange. And so we sat in the living room, we talked, and he just kept going on and on and on about how, you know, my mom is a single mom, and you know, we didn't have food in the house, the gas electric was turned off, and you know, if you talk to men over the phone about sex, that was the deal, then you can make up to $500 a night. And at 14 years old, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Nah. And then, you know, he started throwing in my face about how I can buy Jordache jeans because I always wanted those dark blue Jordache jeans with the yellow horse on the back, God. And the sun on the other pocket. You know what I mean? Like, those are the ones that I always wanted. But of course, my mom couldn't afford them. And so I never got them. But he's like, you can buy those jeans. You can buy a pair of Mia boots. You can get your hair cut. Because back then we were wearing the tilt hairdos, like the real high stacked up tilt. We was wearing back. You know, get your nails, like all the things that I really wanted. You know, he said, you know, you can buy these things and you can help your mom keep the bills paid and keep the lights on and put food in the house. And I was like, well, maybe. Let me think about it. I don't know. So then he kept pressuring me and pressuring me and pressuring me. So we ended up in the basement in my room, which is where I slept. And he proceeded to take his clothes off and get in my bed. And I'm like standing on the side of the bed like, no, I don't want to do this. I do not want to do this. I'm terrified. I don't want to do this. And then he's like, well, come on. It's going to be real fast. Like, because, you know, we'll just sleep together really quickly and I'll let my manager know if you're a good fit for the job. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And he's like, come on, get in. So I get in the bed with all of my clothes on. This man rolls over on top of me, rips my clothes down, and proceeds to enter me. And so for those who are listening right now, self-care is important. So if you need to step away and take a break, please do so. Take care of yourself. And then I'm fighting him. I'm like, get off of me. Get off of me. I don't want to do this. Get off of me. No. And I said, if you don't get off of me, I'm going to scream rape. And he jumps up and he's like, rape? How you gonna scream rape when you let me in here? You let me into your room, which is typical of predators. They spin it, they turn it around and make it like put the fault on us, make it seem like it's our fault, and just then the doorbell rang and he's like, who's that? And I'm like, I don't know. So I jumped up and put my clothes back on as best I could and ran up the steps to open the door. And it was a friend of mine. And as I was letting my friend in, this man had got himself together, got his clothes on, and was walking out the door as my friend was coming in. He was like, okay, see you later.
Wow.
Like nothing happened.
Wow.
Like nothing happened. And I never told anyone except for my girlfriend who colored my hair that night as we were walking to school the next day. And that was, I believe I was in like the 8th grade. I think 8th grade at 14. And so I never told my mom. I just went into a deep depression and spent a lot of time in that same basement in my room because I didn't want to talk to anybody. I felt awful. I couldn't really make sense of the emotions that I was feeling, the anger, the fear, and everything else that I was going through at 14 years old. Like I didn't know what to do. And I was afraid to say anything because I thought I would get in trouble. Because after all, he said I let him in, which I did. So at 14, you can't process it properly to say, no, this is a grown man and he had no business at your house knowing that your mother wasn't home. He already had a plan. He had been watching me. You know what I mean? And so he already had a plan to come and do this. He knew my mom was at work. He knew she worked the 3 to 11 shift and that it would just be myself and my 4-year-old brother there at the house. He knew that. And so fast forward 10 years later, I was living in an apartment in the Sedonia area. So for those who are listening that are familiar with the Sedonia area in Northeast Baltimore, is a lot of apartment complexes out there. And a lot of us who venture out on our own for the first time normally get an apartment there because at that time it was very affordable. And a lot of Morgan State students live there and stuff like that. So I thought I was big time. I went out and got me my own apartment and everything, right? And so this particular night, I had come home from getting my hair done again by another one of my homegirls. And I just decided that, I wasn't going to go to the club. Now, I wasn't always saved. Now, I know some of us used to go to the club too. I decided that Friday night, I was not going to go to the club. I was going to actually get some schoolwork done because I was actually going to Hopkins at the time. And so as I get out of the car and I'm walking up the pathway and going to the building, it was very dark out there. Lots of trees and shrubs everywhere in that area. And, I'm not thinking that there's anybody out there. I'm just walking. So as I went to open the door of the apartment building to walk in, there's a man to the left of me pulling a mask over his head. And he says, you know what this is. Give me your purse. Now turn around and walk that way. Now, I just got saved in September of 1996. And this was November of 1996. So the enemy was on me big time, And so the first thing I did, was hand him my purse, because I wanted to live. I didn't want to die by this gun. And so I handed him my purse and I started to recite the 23rd Psalm because my pastor at the time used to always say, you don't have to know everything about the Bible, but what you know, make sure you know it good. And so I said, well, I'm going to learn the 23rd Psalm by heart. So that's what I'm going to do. That's going to be my first assignment, And so it came in handy because when I saw the gun, I started to recite. I started to pray the 23rd Psalm because I knew in that moment that I needed God. Like God was the only one that could help me in that situation. And so this person proceeds to march me around the back of the building, which is a wooded area. And the whole time he's like behind me, he's cussing me out and saying all kinds of things that were just not nice at all. And I'm just praying, like, Lord Jesus, please help me. I need you now, Lord. I need you now. And we get to a place where he just wanted to stop. And he turns around and stands in the front of me and puts the gun right to my head. And at that point, I'm like, oh my God, he is about to execute me right here in the woods. There's nobody out here. They're not going to find my body until Tuesday when I don't show up for work. Like, all of this is like going through my head, right? Because I literally feel like I'm about to die. Literally. In any second, I'm about to die. And so I'm like pleading for my life. I'm like, sir, please don't kill me. Please don't hurt me. I go to church. I got a good job. I'm in school. Please don't kill me, sir. Please don't kill me. I'm begging for my life. And he's like, shut up. And I shut up real quick. Why? Because I wanted to live. I wanted to live. And there are actually 4, but we're going to talk about 3 trauma responses. That's the fight, the flight, and the freeze, right? And so my brain told me to freeze. So basically, do whatever you need to do, whatever he tells you to do. That's what I need you to do right now in order to survive, because fighting might get you shot. Running, where you gonna run? That might get you shot. So go along with it, play along until you can get an exit, and until God opens a window for you. And so I shut up, and he put the gun to my head, and I'm like, okay, I'm about to die. Still didn't think that he was about to violate me. I just thought he was going to shoot me in my head and leave me out there, because he had my purse. In my mind, I'm thinking, what else could he want? Right? And so then he tells me to get down on my knees, and I'm like, oh my God, he's about to execute me. Oh my God, for real. Jesus, help me, Lord. I can't die like this. There's still things I got to do. I can't die like this. It's going to kill my mom. Oh my God, please. I'm just praying. And then at that point, he makes me do some things I care not to mention at gunpoint. And then I still think he's going to shoot me in the head. I'm like, what else could he want? There's nothing. Nichelle, I was so naive. It never dawned on me. I'm still thinking in my mind, what else could he want? There's nothing else. Until he said, take your clothes off. Yeah. This is a November night. November. And so at that point, I said, okay, I know what this is. And what did I do? I took my clothes off as best I could. Why? Because I wanted to live. So I just took my left leg out of everything. I didn't take everything off. I just took my left leg out of everything. And then this man proceeds to violate me in the worst possible way that you can violate a woman. And all of a sudden, it was just like I felt nothing. I went completely numb. Nothing. And I remember all of a sudden I felt like God had like come down and taken my spirit out of my body and taken it up with him. Like I was sitting on the right hand of God. Like I had an aerial view of everything that was going on. Like I could see, like literally I could see everything that was happening to me from on high. And for me, that was my God moment. God came to see about me. Now, for the clinicians that might be listening or watching, that's described as dissociation, right? the brain, the body is experiencing so much trauma that the brain can't process it, so it just disconnects. And that's part of the survival method as well. You know, your brain, it just disconnects in order to help you survive. And so this person proceeds to do what he felt like he needed to do. And then when he was done, he stood over top of me and he said, "You bet not scream, you bet not go to the police, you bet not tell nobody. I know where you live, I know what kind of car you drive, I will find you and I will kill you." And that tells me right there that he had been stalking me as well. You know, he'd been stalking me as well. And so after that, it was like God had just popped my spirit back in my body. And I just remember just jumping up like, "Oh, you still here. You're still alive. Get yourself together and run. Like, run now. Like, go now before he comes back and wonder why you still here and finish you off. Get up and go. Run now." And I just remember like putting my clothes back on as best that I could and just running back down the same path that we came, just running back down that path to get some help. And I remember getting to the street and it was a car coming and I jumped out on the street trying to wave the car down for help. And the car just swerved around me and kept going. And then I remembered, oh, when I gave him my purse, I slipped my car keys quietly into my coat pocket. So let me get in the car and drive to safety. And so that's what I did. I got in the car and I drove from my house to my boyfriend's, the guy I was seeing at the time, to his house, because it was a lot closer than my mom's house was. But when I tell you, I didn't see a stop sign, a red light, another car. I don't remember seeing anything. I just remember driving and screaming until I got to my friend's house. Wow. You see, God will always give you an exit.
Yes.
He will always give you an exit. You know, I talk to people and they say, well, where was God in this? Where was God? Wasn't with me. Where was God? God was there. God provided an outlet for me. He did. Wow. He was there.
That, you know, that is a harrowing story.
Girl.
Both instances, but definitely the second one. And we're going to get back to that. But I want to go back to the first, you know, incident that happened with you and just talk a bit about that, because there's this, you know, thing called grooming. And do you feel like that is what was happening with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like he was attempting to groom me for what we now call sex trafficking. But back then it was childhood prostitution. You know, but yeah, he was definitely trying to groom me for that. Absolutely.
And I, you know, just speaking with our audience, which hopefully they are somewhat educated on this. Everybody should be educated on this, but you know, what does grooming really look like?
It looks like the person, and it could be male or female, because females are predators as well. They basically try to gain your trust. So keep an eye out for those adults who are paying your child particular attention. If they're bringing your child gifts, if they want to take your child out and get ice cream or snacks or things like that, pay close attention to that. If they're paying particular attention to your child, telling them they're beautiful, they're pretty, you know, playing with them, like wrestling and, you know, things like that. Or now the big thing with kids is, you know, their cell phones, playing Fortnite, playing Roblox or whatever, being on TikTok. If they always making TikTok videos with your child or liking their videos and things like that, take notice of that. Because the main thing is that they want to gain your child's trust. And if it takes up to a year, they'll do it. until they feel like your child trusts them enough that they can basically attack. Get them alone and do what they plan to do with your child. And if your child, parents, guardians, grandparents, I must say this, if your child comes to you and says that Miss So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, cousin, aunt, uncle, grandpa, whoever, if they say to you that this person touched me, this person did this person put this here, believe your child and investigate. Yes. Now, children don't always get it right, like to the T exactly. But if they come to you and say that something happened, believe them and investigate it. Don't dismiss them because they're pleading for help. If you dismiss your child, that's going to ruin them. Really, it's really going to have an adverse effect on your child that they will take into adulthood. Our children come to us for protection. We are our children's advocates. If they come to you and say something, please believe your child, support your child, and investigate. Find out what actually happened. Go to the source. If they say it's Uncle Junebug or, Uncle Peanut or whatever, or Cousin Kiki, go to her, go to him, question him, investigate.
And I think that is so important because I don't know how many times I've heard people as adults and they're talking about abuse that they endured, said that they told a parent, told somebody close, told another adult, and nothing was done, which is mind-blowing to me. But it's actually a very it happens a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
it happens a lot.
More often than you can even imagine. So statistics show that every 97 seconds, according to rain.org, every 99 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted in the United States, man, woman, boy, or girl. But see, that's only what's being reported, right? So you can imagine the fact that this is an underreported crime. The numbers are astronomical. Wow. And people, because of the shame around it, rape culture and, the stigma and everything surrounding sexual assault and sexual abuse, people they would rather stay quiet. But I am grateful that, in today's climate, more light is being shown on it and more people are opening up. I thank God for that, but we still have a long way to go.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think movements like the, Me Too movement and things like that are going on are definitely moving us to a place where, silence is not the option, not what we choose when something like this is happening. But it's still a scary thing. And when you were talking about the second incident, that is scary. You were saying like I knew he was stalking me from what he was saying. And so, once this incident happens, just tell me about that effect, that what was going on with you after this, mentally, spiritually. Yeah. Because you were saying you had really started getting into the church and and gotten saved and all of that. So mentally, spiritually, what was going on? We know where you are now.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I tell people all the time, "Oh, you see me now, but you have no idea what it took to get to this place." So I went through it all. I had psychological issues because remember, he told me that I better not scream, better not go to the police, better not tell nobody. Why? Because he knows where I live. He knows the kind of car I drive. He will find me. He will kill me. So I did everything. I screamed all the way down, driving down to my friend's house. When we got to my friend's house, I told him what happened. He took me to my mom's house. I told my mom what happened. Then my mom took me to the doctor, to Mercy. And who was at Mercy? Police. Actually, she took me to Hopkins first. And Hopkins doesn't do the safe exam. So they called the police to transfer me to Mercy. All right. And so then the police took a report, of course. So I did everything that he told me not to do. So in my mind, I'm freaking out because I'm like, he's going to find me and he's going to kill me. So I never moved back. I never went back into that apartment. My family moved me. They got together and moved me out the very next day. My uncle had a Mayflower truck. He had a trucking company, and they got together, my whole family, and moved all of my stuff out into my mom's house. And so I stayed at my mom's house, but in my mind, I thought that this person had found my car, because my car was parked right out front of my mother's house, and that he was on the apartment building, like on the roof of the apartment building, right across the street from my mom, and was waiting for the window to open to sniper me. like literally, I thought this was real. So I made my mom keep the blinds closed and the curtains closed, and I would just stay in the middle of her bed. I would only get out of the bed to go to the bathroom and back.
Wow.
That was it. I had night terrors, nightmares. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The pain from the wounds was unbearable at times. And I was just in a very dark place. I wouldn't come outside, wouldn't go near the windows. My family would come and visit me, and I would just stay like in the room, like, because I was just so afraid that like he had infrared vision or something, and that like he would see me, because snipers have all of the, I watch movies, so snipers.
So that imagination was on fire.
They have this equipment. So I'm like, no, like if I stay still, he won't see me. It was bad. And so finally, my aunt was able to get me out of the house. And that's a whole nother story. It'll be in the book. We'll talk about the book a little later, but it'll be in the book. My aunt was able to get me out of the house. And with her getting me out of the house, I decided that I was going to go and get therapy, because I just felt myself just falling deeper and deeper and deeper into a really dark place. And I just couldn't get out of it. Like my mind was gone. And I had gotten to the point where I prayed to die.
Wow.
So I would, like it was so bad. Like now I'm not one for pain. I'll tell you that now. I'm not one for pain. So I wasn't going to cut myself or anything like that. So what I would do is every night I would say, okay, God, I'm going to sleep. I'm laying down. Please don't let me wake up in the morning. I don't want to wake up. I'm done here. This is too much for me. I can't handle it. Don't let me wake up in the morning.
Wow.
Next morning I wake up, open my eyes, and I'm like, I'm still here? What happened? I thought we had a conversation, God. Next night, this went on for weeks. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to stop praying to die, because apparently I'm not going to die.
He had a purpose.
He had a purpose.
He had a purpose. And we're going to talk about
he had a purpose.
What that purpose was.
Like I literally would pray to die, because I would rather die than to feel the emotional pain that I was in.
And I think you said something that is so important, that and I'm trying to get together a show about that particular topic, which is mental health.
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
And so you said something so important, which is you went and got therapy.
I did.
And I mean, just honestly speaking, in our communities, and it's just like a taboo thing, or people, they're like, oh, just go in prayer, which prayer is amazing. Prayer can give you a spirit of peace, a calm.
Yes. Yep.
Prayer can do wonders, but sometimes you also need therapy.
Absolutely.
Most times. Probably all the time.
Yes.
I mean, you can combine it, both, they're even spiritual counselors.
Yeah.
So, there are things that we can do. We do not have to languish in that, horrible place where our spirit and mind is. We can get help.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, listen, God plus therapy equals healing. And I have that t-shirt. I have that on a t-shirt because I am a strong proponent of therapy. I know for a fact that God plus therapy is the reason why I am in a place of healing that I am right now. Because listen, God created therapists. They're like a tag team. Of course you pray, because I did. I spent a lot of time in prayer. I spent a lot of time reading scripture, seeking the Lord's face for answers. Yes, I did all of that. But I still needed to go and seek therapy to get down to the root of a lot of the things that I was feeling. That although I prayed, I still felt these things. I still felt fear and anger and pain and everything else that I felt. And so the therapist was able to help me do a few exercises and just to talk some things out to get me to, from a place of darkness and despair to a place of light and love along with God. So therapy is not a bad thing at all.
Yes.
We need it.
We need to accept that.
Yeah.
We need to accept that. So you got therapy.
Yes, I did.
Healing.
Yeah.
And thank the Lord for that. And so then you decided to go a step further. the Lord moved you to do this, and you started Phynyx Ministries.
Yeah.
And so I spoke very briefly about what services you offer, but just can you tell our listening audience about Phynyx Ministries, which I think is an amazing thing.
Yes, thank you so much, sis. Yeah. So, and by the way, thank you for all of your love and your support of Phynyx Ministries down through the years. I was thinking about that earlier today, how you've been to our events and stuff, and you've been so supportive, and the Red Tape Gala and things like that. So thank you so much. I appreciate you so
Absolutely.
much. So so Phynyx Ministries was actually birthed out of the pain of the rape. So because God allowed me to survive the rape, I spent a lot of time, like I just said, asking God for answers, reading scripture, just laying on my face before the Lord and just asking him, what do you want me to do with this? I'm still here. You allowed me to remain alive. You didn't let this person blow my head off and leave me in the woods for dead. So what do you want me to do? And this went on for a while. And then one day in prayer, he gave me the entire vision for Phynyx Ministries. And we know that God doesn't do anything small. Everything he does is huge. And so I, sat down one night and wrote everything as he was downloading it into my spirit. I just wrote it all out. And when I got finished writing it all out, I looked at it and I was like, I'm not doing this. I told God, no, I'm not. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. Ministries minister. I'm not a minister. I'm not a preacher. I'm not. First of all, I don't want anybody to know that this happened to me. I'm not telling that story. I'm not doing that. Like, I had it out with God. I told him, no, not doing it. And this went on for about 15 years where I ran from the call of my life, knowing that I had to do Phynyx Ministries. I always knew I had to, but I was afraid, And now when I look back, I realized that I wasn't ready. It took 15 years for God to prepare me to be ready to reach back and help others, to get to a place of healing where, I'm not bleeding on my sisters. You know what I mean? Where I'm actually helping them and not prohibiting them. You know what I mean? Not
Wow.
them. And so Phynyx Ministries kicked off. I gave God my yes in 2011. We kicked it off at the Empowerment Temple on August 18th, 2012. So we are coming up on our 10-year anniversary next year.
Wow.
So be on the lookout for something really big. Phynyx is turning 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah. And so, you know, and God told me to start it. I started with a blog first, and then as in his instructions, it moved from a blog to a ministry in church. He told me that this needs to be in churches, but start with your home church first. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. And so he showed me what to do in terms of writing a proposal and everything. And Pastor Jamal Bryant was my pastor at the time. And he said, yeah, it's approved.
Wow.
And so we started off having Phynyx Ministries at the Empowerment Temple, where we would meet every other Wednesday. It was basically a support group for women survivors of sexual violence, 18 years and older. And we would meet every other Friday at the church, every other Wednesday at the church from 6 to 8 p.m. And on the Wednesdays that we didn't meet at the church, we had a prayer call at 8 p.m. And that was our way of staying connected with the survivors every week, so that if anybody went into crisis, we would be able to be a support to them.
Wow.
And that went on up until 2018. The prayer call wasn't every other week. The prayer call, it kind of changed. The schedule changed, but the meetings kept going all the way up until 2018.
Wow.
And then from there, I started doing more one-on-one projects with people, like one-on-one individualized discussions and supporting individual survivors that way, and doing more community work as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think that is amazing and is much needed. And, you know, there are some other, I guess, sister organizations. It's a lot of organizations that are doing this work, but I just think it's so important. Every single one is needed because
and more legislative work too. Yeah, and more legislative work.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. And actually mention that in the intro as well.
Yes.
So talk about that, because that was moving towards allowing for well, you can talk about it. I won't talk about it. You can talk about it.
Sure. So we have Phynyx Ministries has partnered with our Baltimore City State's Attorney, Miss Marilyn Mosby, for about 5 years in support of the Repeat Sexual Predator Prevention Act, which would allow a predator's past bad acts and convictions of rape and sexual assault to be admissible in his or her current court case. Before, we couldn't bring that in. And so a lot of cases were being dismissed. A lot of, convictions were not happening because, he or she could say it was consensual and the jury would believe it, and that would be just it.
Wow.
So now we can bring it in and we can prove, hey, he has a pattern of this behavior. He's been convicted before of this. This is what he does. And this way it gives the survivors a better chance of getting justice.
Wow.
So that went into effect in 2018. And it's still in effect. So that helps us, have a better chance of getting justice. And myself and a few members of Phynyx and the state's attorney and a few other law enforcement officers and survivors would go down to Annapolis and share our personal testimonies in support of this legislation, and we finally got it passed.
Well, I think that's awesome. Yes, because you definitely, and I thought that was, when I was, just looking at everything and putting your intro together, I was kind of chuckling to myself, because I'm like, you found your voice, and we're going to talk about your book as well. But you found your voice in this situation as far as helping other people. But then you go on to use your voice for this kind of important work. And so I think that's a full circle thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may add, I shared that in 2018, we kind of shifted the way that we did Phynyx Ministries. And that was because I found out in 2018 that the Baltimore Police Department destroyed all of my rape evidence, and including my untested rape kit. So I was holding out hope for over 20 years that I would actually have my day in court. Come to find out, that's not going to happen. And so that sent me spiraling back to 1996. And so I had to just kind of take a step back and work on me and do some major self-care. But in that, I asked God, why this and why now? Like, after all these years, why this and why now? And so I don't know what it is, but God he puts a fight in me that I just cannot sit back and say nothing or do like nothing at all. And so I look for legislation that I could be a part of so that this never happens to anybody else again. And so I connected with the Attorney General's office, and I connected with Senator Shelley Heddleman, who was introducing a bill that we call the mandatory rape kit bill that would make it mandatory to test rape kits in the state of Maryland and not just throw them out. And so I lent my personal testimony again down in Annapolis in support of that bill, and we were able to get that passed as well. So now, praise God, it's mandatory to test rape kits in the state of Maryland.
Wow.
We wanted it done within 30 days, but they said that every jurisdiction does not have the capacity to turn it over that quickly. So we had to amend the bill to say in a timely fashion. But at this point, they can't just throw them out. You know what I mean?
Yes. And that should have never been an option.
Exactly. So now the only way they can, I'll say, dispose of them, I'll just say that, is if it turns out that it wasn't actually a rape, which generally it never is, or if the survivor says no, she does not want it tested, or he does not want it tested, then they can dispose of them. Other than that, they have to test them.
Wow.
And so, and at that point, I was like, okay, God, this is why now. Because I could not figure out for the life of me, why after 20 some years, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't I find this out like 10 years ago? But I understand that he needed my voice for such a time as that.
Wow. And
so that's two pieces of legislation that benefit survivors. And I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to share, and to be a voice for those like us, like me.
Yes. Well, that's amazing. I'm just like, I'm so for those of you who don't know about, I've actually known Angela for a long time. A really, really long time. But I'm just so proud of you.
Oh, I'm proud of you. You out here doing this Boss Radio, girl. Yes.
Look, if I get to highlight people who are doing the amazing things like you are, I'm happy to do that. I'm excited to do that. And not only did you get into the legislative side of things, but you decided to write a book as well.
Yeah, I did.
Pop that on up here.
I did. Yeah. So I wrote Life After the Silence: From Pain to Power to Purpose back in 2015. That was my story of surviving rape and sexual assault. So to get the more details of what actually happened, you got to get the book. And it's everywhere that books are sold. And also on my website as well, which is AngelaDWharton.com. And in that book, I share those stories of surviving rape and sexual assault, but I also share stories of how, like, life lessons of what God has taught me along the way, as a means to encourage others and empower others to find their purpose and walk and live in their truth.
Wow. And I think that is so important to pass along, because you definitely have some life experience. You have some things you had to go through that a lot of us have not.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's amazing to be able to pass that along to people to bless them. And then I hear tell that there's another book on the horizon. So can we get some info about that?
Yep. So, Life After the Silence has a journal, because I know people saw like the 2 books pop up. So I created a corresponding journal to go with Life After the Silence, because people were reading it and they were saying that, things were coming up for them and they didn't know what to do with it. And I said, okay, well, let me create this journal as a safe space for people to write out their thoughts and feelings, as a way, to help them in a therapeutic way as well. And in the 3rd book that's on the way, it's called Shelf Life.
Wow.
And it's the story of learning that the local police department destroyed all of my rape evidence, including my untested rape kit, and my battle back to self.
Wow.
How I got from there to here and everything in between. It's a book that will be empowering, enlightening, uplifting, inspiring. It's going to really get down to the nitty-gritty of things and help us to understand why we make some of the decisions that we make, and things of that nature. I don't want to give too much away, but it's gonna be a great read, in my opinion. It's gonna be a great read. It's gonna be an easy read, and I think it will definitely be something that people will want to have on their bookshelf and read more than once, and also pass it along to others as well.
Wow. So if you guys want to check out Angela's website, there's the link or the information for Angela's website. Also, you can connect with the Phynyx Ministries Facebook page to learn more about Phynyx Ministries. And I just think this is amazing. So, we are wrapping up, Angela, and I would really... No, this has been a great conversation. This has been a great conversation. I know it goes so fast, right? This has been a really great conversation, and I so appreciate you coming for this important topic. So I would just love for you to leave our audience with just something you think is really important with this topic, some tips or something that you really want to share and leave the audience with.
I know we talk about self-care a lot, but self-care is so super duper important. As women, we pour so much into others. We always take care of other people, but we never take time to take care of us. And I just want to share with everyone to please take time out for you, even if it's just 15 minutes where you just sit quietly, or where you just do something that makes you happy, whether it's read a book, whether it's go for a run, a walk, do Zumba, I don't know, paint your nails. But take time out to do something for you, because if you're not here, then what? Who's going to take care of the kids? Who's going to, take care of anything else? You have to take care of you first. Always, always choose you. I don't care what's happening. Choose you. It's okay to say no. I had to learn that. It's okay to say no, and don't even make anything up when you say no. Sometimes we want to make things up. Let me just think of something real good to say. If I say no, because I got to explain myself. No, you don't. No is a complete sentence. No is part of self-care as well. No. Always choose you.
Yes. And that's great advice. great advice.
Yeah.
And I think that can even extend to, our personal safety and all of that. Just make sure that you are being wise in the things and the choices that you make.
Absolutely.
Because, consequences, things can happen just because of the choices that we make. So it's better to be safe than sorry, guys.
Yeah. And if there's a survivor that is listening and you want to talk to someone, you want to chat, reach out to me. Always open to have a conversation, because oftentimes we don't want to just talk to anybody because they don't always understand us. And the first thing they want to do is just tell us what we need to do. Well, girl, you should go to the police, or girl, you should confront him. Girl, you should confront her. You should do this. You need to do that. No, the worst thing you can do is tell a survivor what they need to do or what she needs to do, because that re-victimizes her or him. Because rape and sexual assault is about power and control. It's not about sex. So if you tell somebody what they need to do, then that's taking their power and their control. You're controlling them all over again. They may not want to confront anybody. They just might want you to sit down beside them and hold their hand and let them cry on your shoulder, as opposed to going to the police or going to the hospital. Find out what they want before you say what you want them to do.
Wow. That is so important, because I think that would be everybody's first thought is we need to call the police. We need to but it's about,
take into consideration the survivor, what she's feeling. She's terrified. He's terrified. He's just trying to process what happened. They're not trying to go to the police right now. You know what I mean? They could be like shaking, trembling, like scared out of their minds. You know what I mean? And they need a safe space. They need to feel safe. And believe them when they tell you what just happened. Don't dismiss it. If they're telling you, they trust you enough with their story. So believe them and support them.
Wow. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a really, really great show. And I am so glad that you were on today to just talk about this important topic. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
It's fun.
Yes. Everybody, please check out her website again. I'm just going to throw that up there again so you have it. Check out her website. Stay in contact with her. Watch out for this new book. And get the other book. But yeah, so it's been a great show. I thank our wonderful guest, Miss Angela D. Wharton, once again for joining us. You guys, yes. So you guys, this is going to happen again in a couple of weeks. We're going to be back with a great new show. And so I just cannot wait to come with my next topic as well. This Using Your Pain to Fuel Your Passion series has been awesome. And we have heard some really great stories, just like Angela's tonight. And, a lot of lessons. We're getting a lot of lessons with these stories. So thank you guys again for joining us. It has been awesome. And until next time, guys, stay boss.